Today on Design, Build, and Fix, in our kitchen remodel series, we're going to show you how to take out ceramic tile and linoleum. If you like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. You can do it. Let me show you how. So let's get right into that video. So there's a couple different tools you're going to need in order to get this job done. Depending upon how well the tiles have been put down and how much square footage you have to take up will depend upon the tool. The first tool here is going to be an electric jackhammer with a 3 or 4 inch spade bit on the end. This will definitely take the tile up relatively quickly and save you a little bit of energy. So another set of tools that you could use is a Wonder Bar and a hammer. Depending upon the square footage again, how much you're going to need, and how well they're applied will depend if this is actually going to work. Now, I opted to go with the jackhammer first. I decided to go that route because I didn't know how easily the tiles were going to come up, and I went past the rental store and I decided to grab it. It was $45 for the day, and so I decided to try the jackhammer first. But before you get started with any of these things, there's a couple things you're definitely going to need. Earplugs. Definitely a must. Safety glasses, of course, is always a must. And to save your knees, knee pads are going to be huge. All right, so when using the hammer jack, it has a lot of power to it, and when you first get your first one up, which is going to be right about here, we get the first one up, you're digging down. Back in the 70s when this house was built, they just put it right on the mastic, right on the subfloor, and then put the slate tiles on top of it. Today, if you have a ceramic tile floor, you're probably going to have some sort of a backer board, whether it's hardy board or some other type of backing to it that's mastic down to the floor and also screwed down to the floor. A little bit more difficult. So this wasn't too awful difficult, but one of the things that I'm going to have to tell you, if you actually do this, make sure you get the first tile up, but don't dive down into it too far because you're going to wreck your subfloor. May have to repatch this a little bit to see how it goes. A little bit more over here. Over in this area, it came off pretty easily. I did about a, 3x3 area. Took me about 5 minutes. So I don't anticipate this being too much more work, but I do have to say using that hammer jack, pretty tiring, a little out of breath, but it'll be a good workout. So let's see how I do with the rest of it. So after doing 3 or 4 more square feet of taking the tile up with the electric hammer jack, I decided to try the Wonder Bar and see how well that came up. And as you can see, some of the tiles came up very, very quickly. Some of them came up partially, but in general, it seemed like it was easier to take the tile up with the Wonder Bar, and so I opted to continue the rest of the floor with the Wonder Bar. So in hindsight, definitely didn't need to rent the hammer jack, but again, it was only $45, so it's not a big deal. Well, 20 minutes later, a little elbow grease, a little sweat, it's all done, as you can see. Now it's just time to clean it up. So now it's time to rip up the linoleum floor. So in order to take up this linoleum floor, we have to cut through the linoleum and the luan that's underneath it. So what you're going to want to do is set your circular saw to about 1/4 of an inch. So come down to your circular saw, set that to about 1/4 of an inch. Make sure you measure it because you don't want to go too deep, because if you go too deep, you'll start cutting into your subfloor. And if you go really too far and you cut through your subfloor, that's a huge problem. Once the linoleum and the luan has been cut, then it should be relatively easy if it was installed properly. All you have to do is pry it up and it should come right up. If this luan and linoleum floor was put down properly, it was stapled with narrow crown staples every 6 inches. So that's a lot of crown staples, but it comes up pretty easily. So let's hope for the best. We'll see how we do. So the linoleum was put down properly. It was stapled every 6 inches. There is no glue. So as you saw, I just made one straight cut, peeled up what I could. All I'm going to do is make a couple more cuts, peel it up, and we should be done. We will have to deal with the staples that pop up after the fact. You can either pull them up with a pair of pliers or just pound them down into the floor as long as they're flat. As you can see, I have removed almost all of the linoleum. And the linoleum that hasn't been taken up is the part that's in the half bath, which is right behind me. It all came out relatively easily, just like the first sheet. Some of it came out in 4x8 sheets, some of it came out a little bit smaller, but it all came out relatively easily. So at this point in time, it's very, very important that you get all those narrow crown staples down. And basically just take your hand, wipe it across the floor, and pound them in. That's going to make your next floor that goes over this relatively easy to install. So in order to finish the linoleum removal, we have to get rid of the toilet. So the toilet and vanity removal will actually be on the next video because it's not going to be your standard removal for the toilet or the vanity. The average person's not going to run into this situation when they're trying to remodel their kitchen or bathroom. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. Click the button in the lower right-hand corner of the screen so you don't miss out on that video. All right, well, thanks for watching another Design, Build, and Fix video. If you like the content, help me out and subscribe to the channel. All right, we'll see you on the next one.